Yeah, once again, we be advised that we should just hold on for a brief moment to allow in more participants, more delegates to come in for this session. Probably in another 5 minutes or so, the session will start off. We want to also humbly acknowledge the presence of the DG BPSRO, Dr. Dasuki, and who will soon be joining us. He's already around, but he has another engagement in the transformation stage, and we'll be going there now. In another 5 minutes or so, he will be joining this group. You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Fine. Hello? Oh!
Hello? Okay. Yeah.
Seriously loud.
Okay. I'll just. Hello? Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name, as the director mentioned, is Joy Darie. I'm the country director for the Tony Blair Institute in Nigeria. And with me, I have my co-panelists. I think we're going to freestyle our session a bit. As you can see, you have to adapt as you go along. I don't think you can be a lead panelist with a panel of two. So I think that we will share our thoughts, our reflections, and invite you to do the same. I'm going to allow Mr. William to introduce himself properly, his role, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you. So I am Will Robinson. I work at the British High Commission here in Abuja. 20 years civil servant back in the UK, so I have a lot of experience of how the civil service culture and experience a number of changes within both society but also within the civil service in the UK. And it's a pleasure to be here. And we're going to try and give you a sort of both the experience end of it, but also to hear from you, to see what questions you have and how you want to drive this. So we are kind of willing and open to answer questions, but also to have more deeper conversations as you see fit. So the floor is back to you.
Thank you very much, William. So what we're going to start off with now, we were hoping that it would be projected on the stage, but sadly it's not. So I'm going to share a piece of paper with you. You can look at it, think about it, and pass it around, and then we'll have a conversation about that to kick us off. Thank you. There are no prizes, so you don't have to study it too hard. Just have a look and pass it around so we can save time. Okay, I'll give you 30 more seconds. I hope we're sharing the paper around. Okay, no problem. Okay, perfect. Can I have a volunteer? The question really is, what do you see? As William said, we're going to have a very interactive session. I know some of the faces, so if no one volunteers, I'll start by calling the faces that I do know, and then hope that we can share some reflections. Again, it's not a trick question. It's just really about perception. So, yes, please, lady at the back. Okay, no, actually, we have someone at the front, please. Let's start there. Can we have help with the mic, please? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Esther. The first one, I saw the face of a man.
Okay, so can you talk about the image? Is it the black and white
The black
one
and
or
white,
the yellow one?
The black
Okay.
and white. I saw the face of a man.
Okay.
Then I saw a woman inside that formed the nose and the mouth.
Okay.
Then for the yellow one, I saw two animals facing each other and a tree.
Okay. Thank you. So I saw a hand at the back. Yes, Ms. Uju.
Good morning. My name is Uju Uchenna. Yes, so I saw in the yellow one a monkey and I think a lion or a tiger. And then in the black and white one, I only saw a face. I didn't see the lady that she mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Can we have one more? And this time, a gentleman, please. Okay, please, the gentleman at the front.
Good morning.
Good morning.
On the first page, I just saw the seal out of a tree.
Okay.
But on the second page, I saw a lion, and I think it's a gorilla.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So the essence of that really, right, is to say that the title of our session is Scaling Reforms and Leadership as a Catalyst for Accelerating Reforms, right? We're talking about scaling reforms as well as change management. And the purpose of sharing these images with you is around perception. So on the one hand, in terms of the first image where Ms. Uju said that she actually saw a face, she didn't see the woman, the idea is that we view things very differently. And if you take a step back, you would then see maybe a whole system. But then there are different components, whether it's the woman, the hut, and the different trees. So at the end of the day, when you're making change in a system, there are different angles and how it affects the broader picture. Now, for the second image in terms of the tree, perfect, we have it up here. You can see, so maybe now, right, as you're looking at it, you might see it more clearly than you did when it was small. So that's another thing. You're the same person, but because of the distance you have from what you're seeing it actually in a different way. So again, when you're looking at reforms, the idea is that we are seeing one thing is being done, but how it's being received, how it's being perceived, actually affects how it's resisted or how it's accelerated. So that's the essence of the exercise. So I think what will kick us off with is maybe I'll bring in my fellow panelist, William, now to talk about, like, when we say change and leadership as a catalyst, what is a leader? Is it a minister? Is it a head of department? What does that mean? And what are the reflections around change management?
Yeah, thank you. So the question of leadership is critical and really important when it comes down to the idea about how change is implemented, but most importantly, how change is led. The risk and the problems that we have in any change program, whatever organization you work for, is the concept of leadership. And we talk a little bit about what we define as leader, who is responsible for this, but actually, ultimately, a leadership is actually a more broader subject. It can be you, it can be anybody. The point here is, how do we use the leadership tools that we have to engage with change? How do we present ourselves and present the change with a clear vision? I'm going to talk about one element of it, which is about kind of what leaders can and should be doing as well, because I think there's an important barrier to leadership, to change that we don't always talk about, and that is about how do leaders remove barriers, obstacles in the process of change. What is it that leaders are setting out for us? What is the concept of enabling and empowering people to make change happen? So leadership can not just be about telling people what to do, it's also about empowering people to make the changes that have been set out, to empower the vision, to empower the concept of what we're trying to do. So the question back to you all is, what are the barriers you're seeing in your leadership that is stopping you from getting on with the job of making the changes that you've been asked to make? How are you addressing that? How are you engaging with that leadership? How are you working together to ensure that those barriers and those leaderships are being discussed? This goes back to the question you were asking about what level we're talking about. Because often we look at change through the lens of a hierarchical, very, very senior people asking people to do something, and then all the way down to your team leaders or you yourself asking to make that change. So in answering that question and reflecting on that, when you think about the role in which your leadership has been perceived, how you're seeing it. So let's go back to that question. What is it, the barriers that you're feeling? How are you feeling as an empowerment? And most importantly, what are you feeling about your leadership? What are you getting out of it or not getting out of it?
Thank you. So when you hopefully again raise your hands to speak, it'd be great for you to give us a bit of context, right? Maybe which by the department you're in, so that we can understand maybe some of the challenges that you're discussing. Thank you. Yes, we have a volunteer at the back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mohammed Stephen Aziz. I am the permanent secretary from Kogi State. Currently, I'm working with Cabinet Office of Kogi State. Please, you made mention about barriers. Please, can you give us some of the examples of these barriers to leadership? Please, thank you.
Okay, sure. I'll start and invite William as well. So I think some of the barriers is sometimes clarity. So changes are made. You don't understand what is required of you. You don't understand what your expectation should be of the leadership. Sometimes the barriers are the tools for change. So there are things that need to be changed, but are you actually equipped to do that? Whether it is digital tools, whether it's capacity building, do you have the skill sets to actually then make the change that's been required of you? So those are the few that I think I'll touch on. I don't know if anything else you want to add, William.
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, so I think that's a really good. So for me, the examples of barriers are both functional and structural, and also the ways in which we do things. So some of the barriers, for example, that you've been mentioned just now, are relevant across all the different ways of working. So for me, if we are understanding how the structure works and the barriers, for example, in structural setups and the kind of responsibility lines, account lines, if we're looking at the way in which the function of what we're trying to do is enabled, we're also understanding where the barriers can be broken down slowly. I think fundamentally, the barriers to change have to be worked through. So one of the key parts about this is trust. Trust is a massive element in understanding how we're going to deal with these barriers in a systematic way. If we trust each other, or trust the system, or trust the leadership, or trust the vision, we're able to confidently raise the questions around how what these barriers are, but also, most importantly, the ways in which we can shift them so we can move forward. The problem with a lot of things, you get stuck in hierarchical systems where we do not attempt to address them. We just simply work around them, or we simply ignore them, and then we never get the change going on. So critical part is trust. Critical part is making sure the functions and structures are enabling that change to happen, and that we're working constructively together to remove the barriers or to understand the barriers so that we can adjust the vision or adjust the approach we're taking.
Thank you. What might be helpful is that if you reflect on any change you've been part of, it could be that you are in public service like yourself at the back, and perhaps you were part of that change. It could be that you are a development partner and you are external to the system and you're part of that change. So maybe to start off with, you can reflect on, okay, what was the change that was happening, or what was the reform? And then perhaps what were then the barriers right within that, if that is helpful. Okay, yes, we have Mr. Chris at the front.
My name is Chris Okeke from the British High Commission. I lead the governance team. Just going back to the question of trust, I have been part of reform process both at the federal level and at the subnational level. And there is a particular instance I think perhaps you might want to join, because I know many civil servants, they have also experienced that, which is the question of trust. When we've seen political leaders come in and initiate reform process, we've seen where they have hired consultants, either as special assistants or as a project team, many partly because they don't trust the civil service to deliver, thereby bypassing core civil servants who should be entrusted to deliver those reforms. And I've seen that such structure often creates tension between core civil servants that should deliver such reform and consultants hired or embedded within the system. Over time, what the experience has been, at least from my own perspective, is that that sort of reform is not sustainable, because the consultants, after 4 years of tenure, they leave. And the core civil servants remain, because you have not trusted them to deliver and you haven't built their capacity. Ultimately, such reform is not sustainable. So how do you deal with that issue of trust, where political leaders come with a reform but don't trust the civil service to deliver, and eventually the reform is not sustainable, or the change is not sustainable?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I'd say thank you. That's a really important question, and I'd like to reflect on our own experience within the UK civil service and the recent, under the previous government, previous Conservative government, where trust between politicians and the civil service broke down, and the barriers that that created in the sort of reforms that were needed to the civil service following the pandemic to enable the country to move on. And then what happened after the election, when the new government led by Sir Keir Starmer came in, when he decided that he wanted to work with the civil service to build that trust and confidence within the civil service, but also within the public, to enable the reforms and changes. In his case, he wanted to put the service back into service delivery. In other words, to give the civil servants the ability to deliver changes that he wanted to make politically to improve the lives and improve the service given to citizens of the UK. So the point about reflecting back on that, the trust between politicians and civil service, the ability to maintain the independence between the civil service and their if you like, their obligation to serve the ministers of the day, and for politicians to recognise the independence of the civil service and their ability to enact and support the government of the day's agenda, are really important. And when those things are confused, or when those things break down, or when indeed we don't have the levels of trust or the levels of support, we get the situation that Chris is describing, where you get senior civil servants actively working either against or at least not able to deliver the changes that are demanded from the political level. So what's critically important when we're looking at reform and acceleration is trust. Trust between the politicians and the civil service, trust between the citizen and the civil service, and ultimately the trust between what the government has been elected to do and what is actually being delivered, trust that everyone is actually working together to achieve a common purpose. I think there's a problem in all of society's democracy where we have situations where that has not worked or is not working. And I think it's critical as civil servants to be able to have the ability to challenge that. To be able to challenge that, but it's very difficult when you have systems that aren't able to do that. That's why we have civil society, that's why we have media. We're able to use the various tools to be able to raise up the questions around how do we build that? How do we build a strong civil service? How do we build a strong civil service that's able to both respect the direction of travel that our elected politicians are giving us, but at the same time also able to enact that decision making and build the trust between the people and society that we're serving. So the question about barriers is a multifaceted way of looking at it, but ultimately we need to build trust and we need to build confidence in the system to be able to deliver on that change. So there's an example from the UK, and I suspect in Nigeria there are similar challenges too, and I'd be interested to hear from the audience around what do you think those challenges are, and how can we, as we go forward on the reform process, how can we enact those changes?
Thank you so much, William. I guess my reflection on that is I think it's so nuanced and layered and complicated. On the one hand, as William touched on, is both ways, both between the civil service and, let's say, the minister and his incoming team, as well as the minister and the civil service. So I think part of it is also saying, okay, what is the baseline? At the end of the day, sometimes the reason people bring in their team is, okay, maybe I don't trust who's going to be there. Are they going to frustrate me? I want to make a legacy, a change, and you're not thinking beyond, let's say, yourself and the system and how that strengthens the system. So I think the question would then be, okay, if I'm coming in as a minister, am I able to understand where the strengths are and the gaps of the existing team? And then if I'm actually bringing in people to strengthen areas, it should be around gaps, and then that should be clearly communicated. Because I think sometimes, perhaps, as human beings, we want dignity and respect, and you want a situation where if I'm working in your organization and you come in as a new minister, I feel like I have your respect, I have your attention, I can even give feedback. So the idea is that how do you communicate your vision and how you're going to implement it as a leader so that people feel like they're carried along and that they can actually escalate or share their thoughts if things are going whether right or if they're going wrong, so that you don't have a situation where consistently, as you say, you have new teams, they make some changes, but they never last. So I think back to William's question, it'd be really interesting to hear again from the audience to say, okay, what are some of the changes you've seen? Are there changes, hopefully in your context, whether it's in your office, whether it's at the state level, at the federal level, in your department? Have you seen any changes that have lasted? Have you seen any that have failed? And it'd be great to just hear from you why. Why do you think they succeeded? Why do you think they failed? Do we have any volunteers? Yes, please. The gentleman in white. Good morning.
My name is Oyeduro Lowosoke, and I just want to say that based on what we've said earlier, trust and leadership are intrinsically linked in organizational behavior. And the moment the trust is severed, definitely there won't be a very good room to operate. But one thing about the aspect is that when there's an open communication, there's collaboration, and then there's it makes people to be psychologically safe, and then they will always want to engage more. I think it's for a leader to actually define, and at least when you get to a new place or a new setting, it's just for you to actually define or be specific about what you want. And then there should be that element of doubt, that you try and put a little trust in your subordinates so that you know where their skills actually lies, and then you know where you want to tilt it so that it can actually move into your own very perspective. And I think this will bring about inspiration and then more collaborative entity in the system.
Yes. Please, you can still hold the mic. I think we have a question for you.
I think you're touching on a really important subject here in how leadership could play a key role in affecting change. You talk about psychological safety, and I'm going to just widen that out to a concept about resilience. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, resilience. So one of the interesting how things are working, how teams are set up, how changes and leadership is able to drive forward some of the changes. And we talk about resilience. We talk about what all resilient teams or ministries or societies have in common. And one of the things they have in common is this ability for trust and psychological safety. This is a key component as it enables us to make challenges and to be able to ask questions and to be able to say, we can do this in a different way without fear of that being either rejected or being treated as a bad performer or not a team player or whatever. So it's really important that is kind of enacting. That leadership has a strong role to play in that. The second thing is having the ability to be empowered to make changes, to be able to be adaptable, to be flexible, to allow people to see what's in front of them and to be able to maneuver around that to get to where the ultimate goal is going to get to. Again, this is about the ability to be adaptable, to be flexible, but that requires enabled. That means that leadership has to be enable that, to allow change to maneuver. We set the goal, we set the vision with a clear understanding of where we want to get to, but you're allowing people the ability to move around to get there. That allows to understand what barriers are coming up, how to overcome those barriers, but that has confidence in the people to do that. So resilient teams will have that as an element in it. Having a clear direction and a shared understanding of what that clear direction is critical. So we have this morning listened to the wonderful national anthem of civil service, or the anthem of the civil service. And it actually sets out a lot of this stuff. It sets out what the vision is, it sets out what the direction is. It tells you where we're going on the change process. The next step in that is enabling you to be able to do that. So we've got clarity, how are we going to do that? And that requires then a level of understanding and empowerment for people to do that, to have that. So we've got the clear vision, now it's allowing people to interpret that clear vision and then the leadership to be able to move that forward. And I think the last thing I was going to mention about resilient teams is a shared model of what teamwork is about, what we are trying to achieve. Because every department, every team, every part of this civil service structure will look at this differently. They will not necessarily have a shared model of how we're going to approach this leadership. They're not necessarily have a shared model about how to get to the end point, how to get to where the vision is. So one of the key things is, from any level you're at, is to help people to understand what that shared vision or shared model of what that sort of change is like. So people can understand how to interact with that, because ultimately change will not happen within silos, within one team or one, it will happen across an entire swathe of different areas. So it's really important that we understand that. So one of the things you can do is elevate up to your leadership to understand, help them to provide you with that clear sense of understanding of what that shared model is, help you to build that psychological safety and trust, help empower you to be able to make the changes that are needed to make along the way to get to the destination you're trying to get to, and to use leadership as a way to kind of provide you with that structure to enable that change to happen. So I'm going to just pause there, but I think you've really touched on an important point about the challenges and the barriers, but also the opportunities and how we can approach it at every level that we're at. Sorry.
Thank you. I actually wanted to build on that just to say that from what you talked about in terms of leadership and trust and what William has actually shared, have you seen any examples where you think, whether it's within your work or what other people have talked to you about in terms of their own work, where you think it's a good example that can be emulated? When we're talking about scaling, right, I think it's not just scaling the reforms, it's also scaling behaviors.
Definitely, as civil servants, we have enormous examples. And I feel that from my own perspective, what I've been able to deduce from it is that as a leader, you shouldn't lord it over your subordinates. You try as much as possible to work with them, being a member of your team, in order for them, just as I mentioned, the word clarity that has been specific in your communication to them. Let them actually know where you are coming from and what you actually intend them to achieve or to give to you back, so that they will know that, okay, probably maybe a leader comes and then you put up a memo for him or her. You know, the style too is one of the components that really matters, because you will know that, okay, this is a new leader, is coming, you don't know the style, then you, from the old style that you know, you put it forward, and then he just, you know, things that have actually been going on. Then when he has done that like 2-3 times, you know that, okay, this person's style is different, and then you try to adjust into that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have someone at the back. Okay, no, sorry. We have, okay, and please, to the gentleman, and then to you at the back. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Sonny Akko. I'm from the Office of the Head of Service. I just really want to go back to the initial question from the permanent secretary from the state. I think his question was, what are actually the barriers to change in an organization? What are the barriers? That's what he asked of.
Yes.
I was expecting us to, what we have been talking is identifying challenges of change and change management. So I want us to identify the barriers and maybe talk on it. Because one of the basic barrier that I know of change is resistance to change. When people are used to, this is our normal way of doing it, people resist to change. Poor communication. When leaders are appointed without visions, those are barriers.
Yes.
So I want us to identify these, and there are many others of it, so that we'll talk more. And
Okay, I think I'll challenge you and push it back to you, because when he asked, right, I did actually say, you can keep the mic. Okay. He asked for examples, right? So idea is that, okay, what are the kind of things we think are barriers to change? So we gave some. We said, let's say, lack of clarity, to your point about vision, lack of communication, lack of tools, lack of capacity. So those are barriers, right? So you touch on resistance. So I'll put it back to you and say, can you talk about one of the barriers? You have a lot of experience, I'm sure you do. So what are one of the barriers you have seen to this?
Yeah, I think I've seen quite a number of barriers to changes.
We're conscious of time, so we can just focus on one.
We've seen instances when leaders are appointed and his communication skills are poor. He doesn't communicate properly with the downline or people he's meeting. So his visions are not properly communicated. So these are clear barriers to change management. We've seen instances also of where workers are used to their normal psychological way of doing things, and they resist to change. They don't want to change at all. They want to remain the way they do it. So those are other basic barriers.
Yes.
So it's a both-way thing.
I get you.
Thank
Both
you.
the workers as well as the leaders. Thank you so much. I think there's someone at the back, and while you're going, William, I think you want to reflect.
I mean, I think you're spot on. Resistance to change is a fundamental barrier. And I talked about resilient teams, I talked about the psychological safety. Half the battle with resistance is people either are willfully deciding not to do it, which is one thing entirely. The other one is that people don't understand the benefit. And I think one of the things that is critical in overcoming resilience is helping people to get to the point where they see that the end point of change is actually in their interest, is actually a good thing, is actually something that will benefit them as individuals. So you're speaking to individuals actually about it. One thing we fear about change and we like about not changing is that it's comfortable. And the problem is that often we don't understand what the urgency, why we need to change. In other words, we jump straight to the change, and we never explain why we're changing in the first place. In other words, we never really get to the point where people are saying, the reason why we're changing is because, well, I'll give you an example. Kodak, the very famous company, produced film. It never really understood that the world was changing. Film was going out and digital was coming in. It responded very late to that. People didn't want to change. They love film. They're expert. 120 years, family business, been doing all like, why would he want to change, right? And it was slow to change because they didn't realize that the world was changing around it. They weren't able to communicate the vision. They were saying that actually people are changing to digital world. Now, if we were to move into that digital world and get ahead of the game, we could still be a market leader in our specialist field. So the problem is a lot of people don't really recognize how to explain it and how to benefit. And people often don't speak to the benefits of change. They don't speak to individuals enough. And I think one of the challenges for leadership is to understand that people are people. And people need to understand what they're going into is something that is better than what it was before. And people need to understand also that they're able to make that change. A lot of resistance comes from the fact that people really feel quite afraid because they don't know how to change. They don't know if they can. I remember when computers came in our office, well, I was a bit, obviously not that long ago, but people were really afraid about the digital age. They thought that their jobs were going to go. They didn't realize that they was going to make their jobs better. Same thing about change, for example, in some of the ways in which you've probably experienced here in Nigeria. You feel that you're not able to make that change, or you feel that change is going to impact you, so you become resistant to it because we can't communicate a better vision about why that change is happening. So you're really, really spot on. It's a really important barrier. But the way I would suggest looking at that is looking at it through the lens of people and about how they're motivated and about understanding what it is that we can do as leaders to appeal to that motivation and improve it.
Thank you. The lady at the back, please.
Okay, looking at our Nigerian context, I think you have spoken to some of the things. You see, there is a reform. However, there is no implementation plan. There's no plan to execute that reform. The people, probably a committee that sat together to do that reform, that committee is different from the ones that would implement.
Yep.
And so there is a gap because they weren't there. So the reasons for that reform may not be clear to them. So that gap is usually there. Now for the public servants, they don't take ownership of it because they were not part of it at the planning stage. So they don't take ownership of it till that plan ends. They're supposed to be drivers. And so when you see that there's resistance from their end, you go bring in essays, 20 essays, technical, domestic, whatever, to execute that plan because you have a short time frame. Yes. Apart from that, there's capacity building that should be involved with every reform. People's capacity are not built. There's change management that should be involved in it. It's not taken into cognizance. There is effective communication of that vision. It's not taken into cognizance. It's a whole thing that is integrated, which should be done. But when you isolate it as an element and believe that you want to run with it, then you're your own. And so it fails. So these are some of the reasons. And they don't build in cost. There's cost for change. They don't build in cost for it. There's no funding, and you want to effect that change. So these are a gamut of a whole lot of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know William is itching to say something, but unfortunately, we are at time. And I think that you have actually concluded it so excellently. You've done my job for me. And I think I'll take us back to the first picture we had. That's the gray picture. She talked about the disconnection, right? Whether it's effective leadership, the cost, the training. There are just so many different components to the system. So it's a whole system thing. Having the reform, not having the plan, not having it resourced is going to be a problem. I can see the lady standing up now. So as I said, thank you so much. It was a very rich and reflective session. I thank you to my panelists, and I thank you to an active audience. Hopefully see you soon. And I think, yes, William will say one more thing.
Can I just end? I mean, first of all, I'm really impressed. I mean, I think the thing that I'm taking away from this is that there's a real drive and real interest in change management, how we do change. And we're all recognizing that we're not, we're a part of a system, we're a part of an approach. And as civil servants, we are often feeling that change is happening to us and not with us and not for us. And I think there's a part about this empowerment question, about the talking about resistance, part about the bits you were talking about as well, which are incumbent on us to push that back up the chain, to ensure that we're getting the leadership, the direction, the right strategy, the right approach, the right capacity, the right abilities to do it, to give us the chance of making it work. So I would say, have a question, ask questions of your leadership. Raise that question, raise how we can do it in a respectful way, in a way that works within the system you're in. But ultimately, if we're not able to challenge, not able to push up, not able to articulate what we need to do to make those changes work, we will be ever stuck in this cycle of planning, ideas, thoughts, and nothing actually changing as a result of it. So really be curious, really be active, really ask questions, really work with leadership. If you are in leadership, be the leader that does those questions for you. But ultimately, change will not happen in that respect unless we are confident in our own ability to move that up the chain to get to where we need to get to. So really, honestly, encourage you all to make change happen yourselves. If you see a problem, work with leadership to make that happen. Yeah. Best of luck.
I'll let the lady speak. Unfortunately, I had said that we're ending, but I think we just have a couple of minutes to borrow. I think just to show you how interactive the sessions have been, I think we lost one of our panelists, but he actually has briefly joined us, so I'll give her
Thank
the
you very
opportunity.
much, ma'am, for your understanding. I thank you, sir. That is Dr. Dasuki, the DG PBSRO. He went for another assignment in the stage transformation. So we'll just give our DG 5 to 10 minutes to also educate us with what he came with. Thank you, sir.
Got any questions? I think there was one question we didn't get around to over there. Please feel free as well. Yep.
We'll just let Ife share her question, and then maybe you can reflect on it and also share some thoughts. Please go ahead.
It wasn't actually a question. You asked, for example, of maybe we've been a part of a reform, and which if it was successful or not, and what happened. And I'm going to give an example of a reform I was part of with one of the agencies in the country, and it was successful because two things: collaboration and communication, which we have all touched on. The DG had a vision, but in terms of the implementation plan which she talked about, we, I work with the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, and as partners, we worked with the stakeholders who are the civil servants at the core level to develop the plan. We work side by side. Let them tell us how we want to achieve this vision. What are the best ways you think? What are the tools you think are required to achieve this vision? And based on that collaboration, we had an overall plan. And after that, we had communication across different levels where the DG was engaging with the departments as to this is how, if you have told me this is how we want to get to this, these are the things you said you required, and I'm committed to make this happen. And he had stock takes with them from time to time where what are the challenges, how do we address the challenges, is it bureaucracy, is it that you need more tools, is it that you need to build your capacity more. So these are the things that actually helped accelerate delivery of some of these reforms across the level. Thank you.
Much as said, a lot of reflections, but given that our time is fast spent, I'll hand over to Dr. Arabi.
Thank you very much, Dere. I want to sincerely apologize for joining you late. I think it's the fault of the organizers because they captured me in two events coming up at the same time, so I joined the other class. However, I ask for the permission of the facilitator of this session to give me that space to cover the 47 slides that I have put in place. In any case, we are looking at reforms, which is the center of this discussion. I'm celebrating Nigerian public service reforms, by extension, the reform of Nigerian civil service. In 2004, we came up with this idea of creating an agency responsible for driving reforms in Nigeria, which is BPSR. BPSR came up with a strategy document that we call the National Strategy on Public Service Reforms. NSPSR has 4 pillars, looking at accountability, fighting corruption, looking at development of national development plans, and public financial management. By extension, the 4th pillar is the civil service administration reforms, which is the Federal Civil Service Strategy. That strategy had or has an implementation plan, has a monitoring and an evaluation plan. It has a communication strategy and plan to get people on board into this. And it is on the basis of what we had planned and the strategy that we reformed the procurement process in Nigeria, tax collection, remodernization of Federal Inland Revenue Service. We successfully digitalized management of resources in Nigeria by creating IPPIs, JFMIS, Treasury Single Account, BVN, etc., etc. Now, among the 4 pillars that we have on reforms, Pillar 3 is the most successful because everybody can feel it. As long as you're in the public service, you know public financial management has been digitalized 100% as stated in that strategy. Also, in that strategy, Pillar 4, we looked at succession planning, mentorship, performance management, digitalization of the public service. BPSR is proud and happy to say that we coined and saw the creation and the adoption of the e-government master plan of Federal Republic of Nigeria that is supposed to be driving the digitalization of Nigerian public service. So we have a strategy, we have plans. I think what we need to push forward is support by the leadership, funding for reforms by government and development partners. My study and research has shown all over the world, not up to 50% of reform initiatives are funded by national budget. The question I'm throwing to Dare and others that are from the development partner cycle and state is, how far have we gone in supporting and funding genuine reform programs in the civil service and in the public service? Beyond that, we have to, as civil servants, buy into these reforms because it's ours. We are the implementers. As long as you don't buy into it and you don't adopt it and get it implemented, it becomes a problem for us. We have seen cases and stages where in 2014 and 15, working with the Office of the Head of Service, we created the Department of Reforms and Service Improvement in MDAs. We saw in a ministry where the director was posted and he remained without an office, a table, and a chair for 1 year. We saw a situation where some of these departments are not funded, though they are on the national budget, but no kobo gets to them. So what we see is anybody that is posted to reforms coordination is Guantanamo Bay. You are going there for punishment. So does that mean that those at the top do not understand who should drive reforms? Or what is the problem? Change has come. Thank you. Change has come. The ship has been sailing. We either jump in and deliver a 21st century public service to Nigerians, or we fall apart. I want to tell us that whatever we have done in the last 20 years, National Strategy on Public Service Reforms is coming to an end 2025. We are starting another strategy for the next 10 years. The backbone of that strategy is going to be, as per our thinking, built on the backbone of technology, digitalization of our processes, entire public service digitalized, so that we'll build confidence and we'll be able to deliver the fourth industrial revolution service that the citizens are looking for. In any case, as we close, you either do what is expected of you as drivers of reforms, or you fall by the side. I traveled to Turkey, and when I went to the airport on my return with the permanent secretary that was driving the course, we saw one line that was just moving, and we went there. And the PAMSEC pushed his password like this. It went. First time, second time, it came. And somebody came. Are you from Nigeria? I said, yes. Please, can you go to the next door? Then somebody, that means we have not updated our passports. It has not reached world standard, so we cannot enjoy the benefits of digitalization. This is just one case in an airport. My call is on all of you is let all of us be ambassadors. Before I close, I want to celebrate this gentleman because he is the permanent secretary, Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Ogun State. He came to me one day and said, we want to create Bureau of Public Service Reforms in Ogun State. Arranged a meeting for us with the governor. After that meeting, BPSR Ogun State was created. And a lot of things have changed in Ogun State. Thank you, Mr. Permanent Secretary. We have succeeded in getting 4 states, Ogun, Gombe, Lagos, and Kaduna State, to create their own bureaus of public service reform. So if we have people from other states, we are using this forum to call on you, work with us, we'll help you to create this agency and make sure that the reforms we are driving at the federal level are cascaded onto the states and local governments. Thank you.
That was a brilliant call to action to end our session. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for your patience and the extra time you gave us. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We really want to appreciate your presence in the first section of the day 2 of this wonderful program of the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, International Civil Service Conference 2025. We are taking off now with the second session for the day 2. We will implore you to please sit and enjoy yourself, as this will be another very educative session. To lead this panel, this second session panel, is Dr. Zena Manwa. Please let's give her a hand of applause. Thank you. Thank you, ma. Thank you. And the panelists are Dr. Mimi Mojisola Abu. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you. Next on the list is Mrs. Chinyere Obi Obasi. Is she around? Mrs. Chinyere Obi Obasi. Okay, we'll be waiting for her. Okay, the third on the list is Mrs. Bola Thomas. Is Mrs. Oh, thank you very much, ma. You are highly welcome. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Please, at this point, I want to enjoin and implore us to please progress forward as we are marching to greatness. Please, let us progress forward for easy coverage.
It's working.
And transmission of knowledge so that you can get every bit. Please, thank you. Move forward. Just progress forward. Let's march to greatness. Moving forward is marching to greatness as it is there in our civil service anthem. Let's move to greatness.
Everybody
Let's move forward.
sit in front.
Let's progress forward. Thank you. Thank you. Please, we wish that this particular seat be occupied. Please, this front seat be occupied. It's not particularly left to anybody. It's for every one of us. Please just move forward. Move forward to the front seat. Thank you. As you do that, at this point, I will hand over the mic to the lead panelist to take off immediately. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm going to reiterate what she said. It's better, since we're so few, to move to the very front. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move to the front. There's nothing stopping you. Since it's now it's an intimate discussion, so it's better that we hear each other well. So again, I greet all of you. Good morning. It's an honor to be here leading this fantastic panel. I want us to, first of all, just take a pulse of the room. Is that all right with you? We'll be very interactive since we're so few. Is that okay? Feel free to answer so that we're a little bit buzzing. Especially for the ladies, but the men as well. Welcome. Thank you for being our allies. Thank you for being he for she's. So let's take a quick pulse of the room. Put a hand up if you know any woman that has been passed for a leadership position, not because she's incompetent, but because she's a woman. Have you ever had such an issue? Have you ever seen such an issue? Put a hand up if you yourself believe that you've been passed over for positions or anything good, trainings, for the fact that you are female. So I can tell you that from the 3 women, that answered, I think you're living more in the reality. Because I have never met till today any woman that says she has not met another woman that has had issues with gender disinclusion. I've never met a woman, both in politics and the private sector, that has said that she has never been passed over for things because she's a woman. This is something that is pervasive both in private and public life. But we have this stigma attached to it and this fear. Some people will be afraid to put their hands, but if you talk to them behind closed doors, they will tell you the truth. So gender issue is our issue, and that's why we're here today. My name is Dr. Zainab Marwa, and as you can see, we're wearing red. And that red was done very deliberately as a sign of unity, that women should always stick together, and also because there is power, there is passion, and there is confidence in red. And so since we're speaking intentions and we're setting intentions, can we do some chants together to get all of you warmed up? Because everybody is so stuck up now. So can we ginger ourselves? Can we ginger ourselves? So say after me, I lead with confidence.
Lead with confidence.
I desire and deserve to be here.
I desire and deserve to be here.
I am ready to rise. And again. And again. Say it with feeling, or you're not ready. And rise we shall together by the special grace of God. This fantastic panel is titled Advancing Women's Inclusion in the Civil Service. In full, it is Advancing Women's Inclusion, Well-Being, and Leadership for a Future-Ready Civil Service. What does a future-ready civil service look like? A future-ready civil service is one that is following the trends, the global trends. When you talk about inclusion, you simply talk about having a seat at the table. Sometimes you would see a group of people coming for a meeting, a very important meeting where decisions will be taken. And because of those decisions, policies will be formed. And you find that out of 10 people, only one is a woman. Meanwhile, half of our population is female. And with that comes female issues that only females can understand. I don't know if you remember FUBU in the 90s. For us, by us. So that is very important. Women need to be included in places because we know where it pinches us. So we are able to check that place that's pinching for other women too. And then when you talk about well-being, for the civil service, it's more about the work-life balance. Unfortunately, a lot of people generally, but because this meeting is about women, I will focus. Our male folk have not forgotten you. It's just that this is about gender, right? About women. So I think within the last 2 years, have you noticed that women are just falling down, slumping and dying? It's a trend. If you go on Instagram, you will just see this woman was okay, she complained of headache and she slumped and died. So we have to be realistic about life. There has to be some sort of balance between your well-being at work and your well-being at home. I always say that balance doesn't exist. You can never do both things equally. For something to live, something has to die. Unfortunately, that's it for men and for women alike. You can't do it all. We're not God. Only God can do it all. And then when you talk about leadership, it speaks to the fact that according to the National Bureau of Statistics, within the top echelons of the civil service, there's 24% women. But in countries like Canada that have 54%, in countries like Rwanda that have over 40%, in countries like South Africa that have 45.2%, you would find that research shows that there's a direct link to women in leadership positions and the quality of service provided by the civil service, especially when it comes to education and healthcare. And this is very important because other service, quality of service, also wins from having more women. Research also shows that where women are built with good capacity, there is development. And I'm not just saying development in the home or the classroom. I'm saying development in the country. An educated woman builds a nation. That's just what it is. Anything you give to a woman, she multiplies it. You give us what you give us, we give you babies. You give us crayfish, we give you a bonus soup. You give us red material and we look like queens. Please clap for women. So today we're going to be discussing these issues, and then we're trying to ground ourselves in experience so that we talk about lived experiences, and then we'll take some of your questions. For a brief introduction about myself before I come to my co-panelists, I'm a mother of 5, very proudly so. I'm a Harvard-trained strategist and Oxford-trained policy analyst. I have over 21 years at the Nigerian bar. I have a PhD in gender studies. I'm a politician as well. So, you know, having been in all these rooms, I can understand that it's quite difficult for women, and we're facing a lot. But I know that with everything, I put God in front of me, and for what I am passionate about, I love singing and I love painting. So now let's move to the other beautiful ladies. I'll start with Mrs. Chinyere Obi Obasi at my side. She's going to introduce herself, but I'll just give you 1 or 2 tidbits about her. She seizes every opportunity to sew new clothes. For everything that she attends, she sews a new clothes. She loves people.
Oh
and we were discussing, and I picked from them, but they didn't know that I was a spy. And she's also a stand-up comedian. She has, in fact, done her comedy on huge stages like Transcorp. So thank you, Ms. Chinyere Obasi. Please tell us a bit more about yourself, and let's hail her. Let's hail her well.
Thank you very much. Incidentally, this is not a new dress because I just got the memo. Wear red. So but I think yesterday I wore green. I was deliberate just to be a patriotic Nigerian. I was feeling so cool myself. New clothes make you happy, right? I don't know about you, makes me very happy. Okay, so I read English and I read law. I practiced law 7 years, worked in the bank for 13 years, rose to managerial position, and then I voluntarily left to go into MC, public speaking, and all of that. I've written 13 books, won some awards, and I'm a mother of 5 children. I told her that all the children came by CS, for those who are so scared of CS. See somebody who had 5 cesarean sessions. And the last of the 5 of them is 20 years. So you can imagine. I'll soon be a grandmother. Pray for me. Thank you. So I think that's all for me. Thank you.
So the second person now that's going to talk to us is Dr. Mimi Mojisola Abu. I'm sure most of you know her. Please look at this lady here. Please, can you stand up? Can you just stand up? And can you just twirl around? I told her when we were discussing, and she told me her age. I said, I can't believe it. Can anybody guess that this lady is 57 years old? Is it not enough to clap? She also, take a seat, ma. She also loves spoken word. And she is an amateur photographer. So welcome. Please, can you tell us a few things about yourself?
Thank you very much, my chair. I am Dr. Mimi Mojisola Abu. I actually have 2 PhDs. That's a good place to clap. I am the director in charge of organization design and development in the office of the head of civil service of the Federation. I am in charge, my team and I are in charge of establishment matters in the public service. And one of the things that we're passionate about is designing a service that will not only function but flourish. And I'm not just here as a reform strategist. I'm here because I'm here as a woman who, has had to deal with the demands of the public service and still dealing with it, have to live with it. I'm here as a woman who is leading and have led through the challenges of public service. I am here also as a passionate woman about the well-being of not just women, but my staff. And I think that that well-being should be a standard operating procedure, not a personal struggle. I happen to be a mother of 3. And just like the last speaker, the last 2 were through cesarean, and just 1 year apart, cesarean back to back, 1 year difference. So just to encourage women too that CS is not a life sentence. And when they tell you that, oh, you have to wait for 2-3 years, I didn't wait. It was back to back. And I had waited 10 years before having my first child, and another 10 before having the other 2. So empathy is there for those who are going through the same struggle. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Empathy is there. All of us have our own trajectory in life. We all have our own path. So always be empathetic with people that are going through certain struggles. And the last but definitely not the least of us is Mrs. Bola Thomas. In fact, Ms. Bola Thomas, if I tell you the interesting thing I learned about her, all of you are going to want to be her friend. Ms. Bola Thomas loves taking people abroad on educational trips. I'm going to be, the next trip she has announced that I'm going to be going for a course at, where are we going, Ma? Which educational trip are you taking me to?
I can take you to the London School of Economics in London.
Please, I'm right there with you. I will drop my children with both of you and then we'll follow. So that's a very interesting and very noble thing to do for others. So please, Ma, just give us a brief introduction.
Thank you very much, Chairman. My name again is Bola Thomas. I recently retired from the Federal Civil Service as the Director of Studies and Learning at the Public Service Institute of Nigeria. I was there for 11 years. I worked in the Federal Ministry of Health for 22 years, and I spent another couple of years at the NAPEP. You know, so those were the 3 areas that I served. I have 2 master's degree, even though they tell me that 2 masters don't make 1 PhD. Yeah, my first master's degree was at the University of Ife, and it was for 3.5 years. And the second one was at the University of Ilorin, and it was for 5 years. And so having spent 8.5 years doing those 2 masters, I'm still relaxing whether I would go for a PhD, but it's always been my dream to be at Harvard. So I may still, although I met a friend who kept on announcing that she's from Harvard, you know, and eventually when I investigated, I saw that it was just a day course. So whether it's a day or 3 hours, Harvard is Harvard. So I will be there, because even that 1 hour is plenty money, but I'm just going to be there because it's a dream. I've been to Oxford, and I'm glad at that. Well, when I retired, the best thing I knew to do while I was in service was giving the Public Service Institute a global outlook. Okay, in other words, I believe in exposure, and that's what women really need at times. When you are exposed, when you have exposure, you learn. Exposure brings learning, it brings options, it brings opportunities. And so the institutions I served, I ensured that they had global perspectives to whatever they are doing. For me, after retirement, it was quite easy to ease into that. So I became a consultant. I still consult for the institute that I left. And then I now went into international benchmarking and study tours and educational trips, which is what I've been doing. Next week, I will be at the Civil Service Life UK, you know. So I'm going to participate in that. So basically, that's what I do. Ministries, organizations that are interested in, I have partnership. My organization has partnership with the London School of Economics and Political Science. That's to let you know how deep we have gone. I have partnership with the Public Admin Institute in UK. I also have partnership with the Civil Service College in London. So with all that, you just be sure that when we take you out for trainings, you'll be really certificated by those prestigious UK institutions, so, and in all sectors. So I think I have 3 children. They're all married. I'm a grandmother of 3 boys. And so I think that my husband is a lecturer, is a professor, and I think it's just in the house. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you so very much. I'm so blessed today because I know that I have gained 3 fantastic mentors that will make sure that I don't stumble and that I don't fall, and so many friends today. I hope I'm right. We need to network. One thing that's important for women is networking, mentorship, and sponsorship. So that woman that will hold your hand and pull you through the door, not only talk to you and teach you, she will take you. So sponsorship is very important. Now, let's delve into the discussion at hand. Mrs. Chinyere Obi Obasi, what does meaningful inclusion of women in the civil service look like to you? And how do we make that real in the civil service today?
Well, when you hear the word inclusion, automatically you should know it means including. And so, and there are 2 genders, right? The male and the female. So we're looking at a situation where the male is there and the female should be there. So inclusion means including women in civil service. Now, it's easy to just get people into the civil service and say, we have included you. But it goes beyond that. Inclusion deals more with power, influence, safety, and to give us a sense of belonging. Now, it is not enough to have women, but it's enough to make sure that they are playing significant roles also in the civil service. And so this means that we are looking forward to a situation where the women who form 50% of the population of the country will be given their roles in civil service. They will be employed. I was trying to look for statistics, current statistics, to show that MBS hasn't released it. But as at the last statistics they released, there were about whether 28%, you know, of the total population of civil service are females. I don't know. I believe that over time it may have increased, but that is still not good enough. So the question is, how do we make it possible for more women to be in the civil service? Because it's important for more women to be in the civil service. Why? Civil service caters for the women, and yet the women that are being catered for are not on the table, like the chair has said. So one of the things is trying to employ the women, females, into the civil service. It's important that they are specifically targeted and brought into the civil service. Number 2, making the workplace a conducive place for women to function. So we should have a situation where a woman should not go to work simply because she has a child. There should be creches where she can bring her child and put her child, and then, you know, once in a while go and breastfeed the child and come back to work. I was giving them, someone was asking me, you were in the bank, you had risen to a certain level. Why did you leave? And I said, one of the reasons I left was for my children. I needed a situation to give them attention, because if if I gain all the money and I lose my children. So I needed to have work that would give me time for my family. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. Why? There are remote work where women should have the opportunity to work remotely, you know, and then still giving their best. Then there should be a mentoring situation in the civil service, particularly among the women. So it doesn't become a case of you are there and no, you are just there alone. She gave, I don't know who gave an example of 10 women in a room, 10 people in a room, and only one woman is there. What is your joy? For me, there is no joy in that. And it means when it comes to voting, when it comes to anything, you will be outnumbered. So women should now learn to carry other women along, mentor them for greater positions. I think also that the communities, community heads, families and all that should encourage their children into the civil service. Like since I came, I've been awed by, you know, the events. I was even asking myself, why didn't I get into the civil service in the first place? I'm telling the truth. You know, I like what I see. But now, because of the state of the country, many young girls are doing very many things. Some are doing their baking and, you know, money at the end of the day is not it. You know, imagine retiring as a director. It will give you joy for the rest of your life. So families, communities, churches, and all of that should be mobilized to let our best brains come into the civil service. Thank you very much.
I love how you're so engaged and active. I've been to so many of these rooms. Nobody will clap. Talk, your breath, you'll be coughing dust. But you people are trying. Thank you so much. So just to reiterate, she talked about not just being included, but giving the power, safety, influence, and a sense of belonging. She said that it's not just about numbers, it's also about value. Not let's have 100 women. No, what value are the women bringing to the table as well? And she talked about targeting women specifically for employment within the civil service because the percentage of women that actually join are less. So we're talking about sourcing and recruiting and then retention of women. She said that in 2025, there are more ways to make women feel included. Aside from creches, she also mentioned remote work, which makes a lot of sense. Because in Nigeria, a lot of babies die in these creches, especially those that force feed them to sleep. They choke and die in their sleep. So it would be nice to have those things on ground. And she said that families should also encourage their children to join the civil service. I have to agree with you. I really do love what I see. And I tried to join the civil service, but it didn't work out for me. I actually tried. I went to my commissioner and I did everything, filled the forms. For 2 years I was trying, it didn't work, and so I left. So it can be a bit frustrating and difficult. So I think we have to target women specifically and pull them in. So over to you, beautiful Dr. Mimi, who is going to talk to us, as rightly so, about well-being and work-life balance, because you can see that she's balanced and she's taking good care of her well-being. So what does a civil service that truly supports women's well-being and work-life balance look like to you?
Thank you again, my beautiful moderator and chair. I will start by saying it is a service that sees me as a woman. It should be a service that sees women not just as numbers, not as statistics, but for who they are. It should be real. It should see them as, that it should go beyond the surface and see them as caregivers. And see them in their different roles. Because women are default caregivers. You agree with me, right? Because women, yes, you're playing this role, you're a civil servant, but you're probably taking care of a sick child, a sick spouse, a parent, and as you're doing that, you're probably, I'm going to use the M word, menstruating with cramps. Yeah? Or you're menopausal. that comes with its own thing. And yeah, I mean, health, the health sector has told us that there are hormonal changes when women are going through all this, which affect her well-being. So a civil service, a future-ready civil service, should take cognizance of all that and go beyond just seeing women, like I said, as statistics, and be more functional and be systematic and have well-being as a framework, not an afterthought, not favor. It should not be the exception. It should be the default setting. The framework should be, for instance, okay, right now we have in the public service rules, the civil service, we have leave for women, we have maternity leave.
Okay.
We have paternity leave, which shows, you know, that they have agreed that caregiving goes beyond just the woman. The man should support the woman and give care. So we have that, and a woman, a pregnant woman, cannot be disciplined when she's pregnant. It should be suspended. It's in the public service rules. And a woman, a nursing mother, for 6 months after she resumes from work, she's allowed to close 2 hours before time. Yes. And of course, there are some offices that have creches, like she mentioned, to help women. However, I feel we should go beyond that.
Okay.
Because I'm still advocating for caregiving leave. For instance, there was a situation where somebody, I'll call her Fatima, came to me and if her productivity was declining. And I approached her, I was like, what's the problem? Because this is an officer that has, I know to be, you know, she's always done well, and here she was declining. What's the problem? So, oh, ma'am, I'm having issues. My daughter just had a baby. I'm taking care of the baby. My mom is ill. I need to take care of my mom. And I'm premenopausal. At that point, what she needs is not talk.
It's time.
It's time for herself. We have leave for other people. Maternity is for you to take care of your child. Yes? But we do not have a leave to take care of ourselves when we burn out. We're supporting people who are doing so much. Yet we do not, when we are having those crises, when we're exhausted, when we're burnt out, do we have a leave for that? When people die, like there is compassionate leave, you can take some days off, compassionate leave. But where is the leave when I just am very tired? Where is the leave for when I'm going through hot flushes? Where is the leave for when I'm having menstrual cramps? Where is the leave for that? Where is the leave for when I need to take care of my sick mother? Where is that leave? Where I have to take care of my husband or my sick child? That is the kind of framework I think we should be talking about.
Absolutely. Please give her a round of applause. You can see how passionate she is. And I do agree with you that, you know, you said that service should see women, see them as humans. You know, women, we have such a diverse tool set. You're a mother, you're a doctor, you're a chauffeur, you're a cook, you're a cleaner, you're a carer, you're a nurse. You're just everything. And so it would be nice for institutions to see you as that and not just, you know, this lady that comes in to work 5 minutes early, always looking crazy, you know. So you also spoke about that women have their own issues. There are certain issues that are only women understand, that are peculiar, thank you, to women. Issues like menstruation, hormones, menopause. Now we have a new one, perimenopause, and you know, all of that. So it's quite a lot. And as it happens, there's a certain age that you hit, which is called midlife. Your kids are getting bigger, but you're still struggling to take care of them, and then your parents are getting sicker. And then your parents are also dying. And then you're lost in this world without your parents, but you still have to stand up and be this woman and take care of the family and the husband and all that. So it's very difficult. And I agree with you that there should be leave for that. But some would argue that the leave already exists as the normal leave. But I quite agree that special, times need special concessions. Thank you so much. Mrs. Bola Thomas, the lady that's taken me to LSC to go and beef up my CV. I'm always looking for how to beef up my CV. My dad did his master's in Harvard. Before my mother passed away, she really wanted me to go to Harvard. So immediately, in fact, she passed away, I had to put so many things together and go. And then after that, I was bitten by the bug. So I think LSC sounds good. I'll be packing my bags tonight in order to follow you. Then I will share my certificate with all of you so that you can congratulate me. Tell her thank you in advance, please. So Mrs. Bola is retired, as she said, so she has a lot of lived experiences around leadership. So your question today, please, is how do we prepare women to lead? Not just increase the numbers, but build real leaders and leadership capacity, because as we said before, it's important to have women in the room as leaders because they give a different perspective for decision making, policy making, and solutions. But now we're saying, fine, we have the numbers, but how are you able to build real leadership capacity in women to serve as leaders?
Thank you very much, my chair. I would want to say that when it comes to women and leadership, there's an interplay of culture, of tradition, and of religion, which I've also experienced over the years. In some climes within the country, let's look at Nigerian context, the girl child is trained to be a wife. It's not trained to be a leader in some climes. So right from onset, that's the training. And at the point the training is supposed to go further, she's withdrawn from that training, believing that the real training is the house training to be a wife. So that's a major challenge. That's what obtains in some climes within Nigeria. In some other climes, the woman is to be seen and not to be heard. For some, it's the other way around. The woman is not to be seen and not to be heard. So we have that dual climes within Nigeria. In some climes, the women are expressive, assertive, outspoken. And whereas the women in some others are quiet. Now, that culture, tradition, or religion, that interplay, is brought into the workplace so that when the assertive woman meets a boss who has a woman that should not be heard at home, there is a clash. There is a conflict. So in the office setting, he expects that, oh yes, you have come into the setting, but don't talk when I'm talking. Don't speak back when I'm speaking. You can't bring in ideas. So their position is undermined, even as directors. That position is undermined. In some instances, people from that climb, they give respect to the subordinate of the woman, who is a man. Do you agree with me? Rather than that woman. And to escape or navigate around addressing this overbearing woman. Are you getting? They can't cope because that's not the way it is. So when it comes and says you have idea, you are this, and then the dressing itself speaks volumes. There's also a clash in that. So you come in, you have your hair drawn up like Dr. Mimi's own and everything, it's an abomination in some instances. They can't, some men cannot cope with women talking back at them or women in leadership positions. So they are undermined and certain privileges will be denied them because of that, even though they are very hardworking. So that setting, I have seen it, that interplay go on and on. So we bring that culture, that religion, that everything, we bring it into the workplace and it affects work. So now a woman that becomes a leader eventually and is there, who she's reporting to is very important. If the person she's reporting to is very liberal, then definitely she would move on. But if that person is a conservationist and is not liberal, there would be challenges. Now, if I'm to move on, to say that if we are talking about leadership for women, because they are important, how do we train them? How do we build up their capacity to be leaders? So I've laid the foundation that you can actually build their capacity, but that capacity is not allowed to play because they are undermined by the culture, the tradition, and the religion. But let's leave that side alone, because I want to say that we have improved over the years. Okay? Now, how else can we build capacity of those who are willing and prepared to do that? The major one I would say, there are different types of capacity building, and there are different types of women. You need to know the level they are to say, okay, let's do mentorship. Let's attach you to someone, excuse me. Let's attach you to a woman who can mentor you, take you by the hand, and advocate for what you want to do. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay.
But this, yes. So just briefly, what she talked about, she said that there's tradition and there's culture and there's religion. And even if you build the capacity of women, most of the time they are still undermined because there are some men, you know, that are not used to women being assertive. So these are some of the realities that we live with. I want to say at this juncture that these are just 3 issues that we've decided to talk about, being inclusion, well-being, and then leadership, sorry. So there's so many other issues that we have to talk about as well. And you're looking at things like sexual harassment. Women face that. You know, most of these things are stigmatized, so you're not really able to talk about. People think that sexual harassment is when a person actually touches you or does something to you. Sometimes dropping sexual innuendos when it's not right, you know, forcing a woman to be in a position that she wouldn't want to be in, forcing a woman to do what she doesn't want to do, you know, things like that, they matter a lot. And then you're also talking about leveraging on digitalization to try to drive or galvanize women to action, and using that to even foster more education by way of trainings and things like that. So there's a lot of things to be discussed. And since this is an open panel, please, I invite you at this juncture, before we take our time again, to just have 1 or 2 interactive points, some questions, just for maybe 10 minutes. Is there anyone that would have anything to say? I can see a gentleman, before I even finished, his hand was up. Please, sir, let us know what you're saying. Round of applause for how quick he was.
Good afternoon, the chairperson of this panel.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Elisha Benjamin Dana Sabi. I'm Director of Learning and Development, Head of Service. I want to add 1 or 2 things to this discussion. Number 1, women are wired differently from men. Your physique and everything about a woman is different from a man. So in the process of trying to make them relevant or make them to that extent you want, there should be that consciousness that there are things that they cannot do. If not, we will end up having a situation whereby you'll be pushing a woman and you know that she cannot do that. For instance, in the office, a woman that is breastfeeding cannot walk till 8 o'clock. There's a limit she can stay. As a director in the office, these are some of the things you need to take note of. And also, women should also know that they have limit to which they will go. Hard labor is different. A woman cannot carry some load, but she can do other things. So assigning them to where they fit best is one of the conditions, or one of the things we need to take into consideration in this discussion. Thank you. God bless you.
That's a beautiful one. He just made some comments. He said that women are wired differently, right? Which is very true. I hope we all agree. So I think I'll let Madam Chinyere here, because what this speaks to me is the saying that women say what a man can do, a woman can do better. I, Zainab Marwa, do not believe that. I've never believed that. Even as a child, I used to wonder, because I can't say what I can do, you can do better, or what you can do, I can do better. It's individual differences. So I think you should speak a little bit on that, because
Well,
I think that's what
I
affects.
think that's statements don't just arise. There has to be a history to a statement being made. So I think maybe after years of marginalization and after being said she's a woman, what does she know? People make comments like that. Like in the course of my research, I found that women's suggestions are that sometimes when women are talking, they're interrupted. Like if this whole place is full of men and a woman stands up to start making a point, you can even have some people shout, yes, mocked or ridiculed or shouted down. Sometimes her suggestions are not even noted, and such that they pass her over, and then or sometimes they use her suggestions without as much as crediting the idea to her. So I think it was years of all of these kind of things happening that women now came up to say, what a man can do, I can equally do better. So now if you look at it from the context of maybe strength, a man can carry blocks, you can't carry blocks, then that would be misleading. But if you look at it from the point of view of, if you are the president of Nigeria, I can be the president of Nigeria, and if care is not taken, I can even do that better than you. So you don't marginalize me based on my sex, my gender, because I'm equally intelligent, I was telling my children that my mother, she's late too, and there's something that she used to tell me, and that made me kind of independent financially a lot. She used to say, the hand that God gave a man, he also gave you. The brain that God gave a man, he also gave you. My mother said, there's nothing God gave a man that when it now came to your turn, he took it away. Say a little bit of sense. Let me take some sense away. Let me take some. So whatever height a man gets to, if you're focused, you can get there. So I think if we look at the literal meaning of what a man can do, I can do better, we miss it. But if you look at it just basic career-wise, is there anything that a man, the present head of service is a woman, and she's doing amazingly well. Now, but I think a very important point to note, he was talking about time. I worked in the bank and I know how these things are. You have long hours in the bank, but the secret is this. Some people come to work, they don't sit down to work. They come to work, they're parabolating, they're going from, even guys, maybe a guy, they're just going from, hey, oh God, I came to see you. They're moving from one office to the other. And then when it is 11 or 12, they sit down to start working. And then they work till about 8 or 9 or 10. And then you came to work early, and you knew that, look, I had to go home, I had to prepare dinner. So you sit on your desk, and you attack your work. By 5, you have done considerably well, and you should go. And then you carry your bag and you are going, and then some people are giving you some look. That's why she's their women now. Look at her, 5 o'clock, she's going. No, the problem is not the time. The problem is what have you achieved within the period of work? Because the people who said you come to work in the morning and leave by 5, they are not stupid. You know, they're not stupid. I remember personally when my sister, she was in one class and they said she was going to do, during the holiday, they were staying behind. My father went, I said, look, how much is the money? I said, I will pay. The Oyibo people that put holiday, they are not foolish. So the people that designed work and made it in such a way that you come to work by 8 and then close by 4 or 5 or 6, they're not foolish. Because you have to be alive to work more. Now, if there are special circumstances when you have to now overstay, even you as a woman, you will know now. Like I was in company secretariat as a lawyer. If we have board meeting, I don't need my boss to come and tell me, Mr. Webers, you know, we have to stay a little extra. No, I know I should stay a little extra. But it shouldn't be on an everyday basis. Thank you.
I love that. I love the fact that you speak to, you know, that innate, you know, arrogance that says you can do it, I can do it too, and maybe even better than you can. So that has really opened my horizon and given me a different perspective. I really appreciate it. Ms. Bola, you had something to also add.
Just to add to that, I want to say that while I was in service was when the amnesty situation came to bear. And it came to my desk, which involved going out to the creeks, going out with the military, and doing all that. Now, I had a director who wanted a man to do that. Unfortunately, the man, I remember, the day they called him, said, God punish all of you. Now, me, you want to make you go die. When you have juicy things, you know, they call me. This one, you say, make I go die for creek. And he didn't. And so when we had a meeting with the minister at that meeting said, Mrs. Thomas should go because he believed that I could bring back results. The PAMSEC too said the same. And so they overruled what the director wanted. And I was the one that led the team, you know, with the military to the creeks. You know, at times we almost had plane crash and all that. I don't want to go there. But I want to say that when I look back, I actually believe that most people would have believed that it's a man, you know, that has been doing that. But actually, I was the team lead for that. So we can do. So most important, what I want to say is that there is a need to do a SWOT. There should be a SWOT analysis of the people working with you. You understand? And if that woman cannot work by herself, there are a lot of things to do. You can put her in a team. There are things that you can do. But if you go with that notion that a woman cannot stay till 8 o'clock and all that, they do better. What about the secretaries? They have children. If you are working with a minister as a secretary, you don't close at 8 p.m. You close later than that. And they get by. If you want to change them, they don't want to be changed. So there are things. So you have to take each situation on its own merit and do a SWOT to know what's to be done. The same thing with men. So we don't go with that notion, please. Thank you.
Ms. Mimi, you want to say something too?
I just want to say that just like Mrs. Obasi said, you cannot, you know, put presenteeism over impact. Because sometimes you can be there. You can be present. There are people who are very punctual. They're the first to come to the office. But they do not deliver. By the time you look at the results, they have not delivered. And I do know that, yes, just like everybody has said here, you can bring what you have to the table and deliver as a woman. It doesn't matter. What we're bringing is what is in between our ears. And when the occasion demands for it, women have been known to rise to the occasion. I know that when I've had to deliver on assignments, my colleagues used to they call me kerosene. They say, you know, they sleep. Now kerosene, know they sleep. You know, because I'll deliver. And of course, like we have said, I have 3 children. And I've risen, now I'm a director, and I have always delivered. We always find a way to deliver.
Absolutely. I think that I agree with you. And I think as we're winding this panel down, there's two things that I want to say, because I think there's this misconstruing of the nomenclature or ideologies. When women talk about gender equality, it's not that we're saying we are equal to men. Gender equality is talking about the fact that we want equal access to opportunities that men have. So it's not like me and you are the same, or that you are carrying block and I'm giving birth to children, we're the same. No. It is that if you are allowed to follow Mrs. Bola to London, LSE and school, as a man, me too, as a woman, she should also carry me along. As she is, because she is very gender conscious, right? So gender equality is not, because this, I also was confused about it. But could you believe that it was during my PhD that I understood what it really means? It's about equal access to and control of resources. That's all it's about. When you talk about equity, it's about meeting a person at their point of need. So if a person is from a poor background where they don't have very good education, and I have another person from a richer background with more education, so to meet that other person at their point of need, you have to pep them up to be on the same level as the other person. So when we talk about equality and equity, that's what we're talking about. And with that, unfortunately, my Oga, at the drop of a hat that puts his hand up, you might have to be the only person, because I learned that the president is supposed to be coming. Most of us would love to attend that session, and it's we're nearly having time up. So I want to thank, first of all, this wonderful audience. It's been nice looking at your faces and making eye contact with all of you. There's one person that has been smiling since he sat down, and that's you, sir, with the brown kaftan and the hat. This man has been smiling since we came in, really enjoying and taking in the conversation, and I love to have such men as allies. And then I want to thank my latest mentors, and I have to also ask somebody to go and get a visa so that I can accompany you, Madam Bola, because unfortunately, some of these things are lacking. So I give you that opportunity to get the visa, you get the tickets, and then she will pay for this school. So thank you all very much, and thank you for listening and listening to the wearing of the red. I think it would make not only the beautiful pictures, but also that confidence, that passion, and that power is something that we can drive forward in our lives, at home and at work. And with that, please, can everybody just take a minute to do their closing words and remarks? Please, we'll start with you.
Well, I want every woman here to be conscious of the fact that you represent other women. Most times, they can use your failure as an excuse not to let the next woman in. I remember where I practiced law for 7 years, Tayo Yetubanko, SAN. He said to me at my send-off party, he said, if all women are going to work as hard as you, I will have no problem having women in this office. Be that woman that people will look at and say, because you came and delivered, we're going to create more opportunities for other women. Thank you.
And you, beautiful doctor?
Yes, I want to just say that women should learn to prioritize their well-being. The offices, most offices now have well-being centers. How many of us really visit those well-being centers? For me, for instance, every Monday, my team is here. I match them to the wellness center every Monday, 9 a.m. till 11. That is where we have our meetings, our weekly meetings. Oh, wow. We go to the gym, yes. After gym for like an hour and a half, we now have our meetings. I walk up the stairs instead of taking the elevator. So we should prioritize our well-being, so that the system can really see us. Yes? And like Elroy, the God that sees us, I'm just reminding us that when the system sees us, and when we also see ourselves and the other women, we get healing, and we are able to move on and do greater things. Thank you.
My sponsor, over to you.
Okay, I would just like to say that as a leader and as a woman leader, you need to build your capacity. You don't have to wait for the institution to build your capacity for you. Go ahead and build that capacity. There are a lot of things, a lot of skills and competencies that you need to have as a leader. Effective communication, either spoken or in written one. You must be versed in it. So you must train yourself in those areas to be resilient. Other things, there are fundamental competencies that a leader should have. You must be able to lead people. You must be able to lead change. And you must be able to lead for results. These are very important. So don't wait until the time comes. Start now as a girl child. The girl child you have in your house. Start to begin to build them up so that there's incremental development towards leadership. And I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say that if you look at the pedigree of the people here, you'll be intimidated. When you have a girl child who has gone to Harvard, you have who is a doctor, who is a lawyer, who is this, who is that. You know that you have a good future in Nigeria, and we can't keep these people. It's not just about acquiring this thing, it's to utilize them. So we need to push them into positions of authority where those things, we need to move in Nigeria. Sorry, I want to say that all these our permanent secretaries, having gone through that thing, they should be, once they retire, they shouldn't sit at home. They have acquired knowledge. There should be something, a channel, a pipeline for them to operate. Maybe you reserve a position, Civil Service Commission, reserve that position for permanent secretaries where they can be in the service and utilize all they have learned. It's not time to sit down at home. Thank you very much.
With that, we thank you very much. We're going to have some pictures with us, the panelists. And then, because we're not many, if it's possible that we could have a really big group picture, I would cherish that myself. Thank you very much. So let's do that.
Held in Abuja, creativity, technology, and forward-thinking solutions took center stage as vital tools for reform. Delivering the keynote address, the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Walson-Jack, OON, MNI, stressed that innovation lies at the core of the 2025 reform agenda. Under the theme FC 25, Final Sprint, Delivering Results, she declared 2025 as the year of accomplishment and urged civil servants to embrace innovation as a means to achieve measurable outcomes.
By institutionalizing a competition of this nature, we are directly strengthening a fundamental pillar that is critical to building a future-ready and globally competitive civil service. This reaffirms that innovation is not just a strategy, it is at the core of the transformation agenda for the federal public service. And at this
Your
point, I'd
Excellencies,
like to
our guests, very special guests to this ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I've just been told that the President is going to join us any moment from now. And the security men are a bit worried that we still have so many people in the hall who don't have a specific place to sit. It's part of the operations of the security that when the President is anywhere, everyone in the hall, except you are functional in one way or the other, you should please have a seat. And if you don't have a place to sit down, there are other halls just beside us where this ceremony is aired or is being streamed live. You can also go to that hall. His Excellency, Mr. President, is going to be with us any moment from now. Let me also add, thank you very much for your patience, for waiting, and the President will join us any moment from now. When the President comes in, we are going to take the first stanza of the national anthem. Just the first stanza of the national anthem.
that any other time you want to open to the sessions and you want to just look at them again and listen to them, you can use that. That is the purpose of this, to scan for feedback. And also you give us feedback on your thinking, how you felt the program went, and how we can then improve on what has been done for future performance. Thank you.
Found your scarf in the corner today, buried in time where it chose to lay. The thread still whisper your name so clear, a trace of you, you're still lingering here. It smells like rain and a summer sigh fills my lungs with the echo of why. Your laugh, your touch, it all comes alive, but it's just fabric, and I'm left to survive. The scent of yesterday, it pulls me close, like a ghost that knows what I miss the most. This tattered thread, it unravels my heart. Every breath takes me back to where we started. Your warmth still lingers, though you're long gone. A cruel reminder in this fragile song. The scarf is frayed, but it holds my pain, a relic of love in a sad refrain. Why does it hurt when the scent remains, a fleeting touch through these woven chains? I hold it tight, but it won't bring you near. Just memories carved in a single tear. Oh, the scent of yesterday, it pulls me close, like a ghost that knows what I miss the most. This tattered thread, it unravels my heart. Every breath takes me back to where we start. I still taste the golden days we spun, like sunlight dripping down my tongue. Your laughter soft as a breeze undone, a memory bright where shadows run. Honey on my tongue, your love remains a sweetness that my heart still claims. Each drop a world I can't outrun. Forever, honey on my tongue. The air was warm and your touch was light. We carved our names in the fading night. The stars would wink as if they knew the taste of us would linger through. Honey on my tongue, your love remains a sweetness that my heart still claims. Each drop a world I can't outrun. I chase the echoes where we belong. Your love's the rhythm in my song. Honey on my tongue, your love remains a sweetness that my heart still claims. Each drop a world I can't outrun. Forever, honey on my tongue.
Our special guest of honor here. Can we please rise as we welcome the President? National Anthem. Your Excellency, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the President of the Senate, ably represented by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Establishment and Civil Service, Senator Cyril Fasui, members of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, the Head of Service, Mrs. Esther Didi Wasing Jack, who is our host today. I thought you would put your hands together on that. Professor Tunji Olaopa is the Chairman, Federal Civil Commission. Former heads of service, Your Excellency, Mr. President, we have many of them here with us today. With us this morning, we have Malam Mahmoud Yayali. Ahmed, put your hands together for him. We have Engineer Ebele Okeke, put your hands together for her. We also have Mr. Stephen Oronsai, put your hands together for him. That applause was noted. Well, Professor Oladapo Afolabu, put your hands together for him. With us this morning, we also have Malam Danladi Kifasi, put your hands together for him. With us this morning also is Mrs. Winifred Ita. Put your hands together for her. Winifred Oyo Ita. We also have Malam Goni Aji. Put your hands together for him. Amongst us this morning is a banker, a former managing director of Access Bank, and chairman of Access Bank. But he's seated in front this morning not because he's a banker, but because of his worthy contributions to civil service. Please make welcome Aiboje Ike Imokedu. He has worked assiduously to ensure innovation and competency in Nigeria's public service. We also have with us another able personality who has done very well for the country. The chairman of Evilis Consulting is here with us. Put your hands together for him. We have permanent secretaries, the engine room of all our ministries and agencies. Put your hands together for them. We have members of the diplomatic corps, and of course, you know, the British is among them. Put your hands together for them. We have presidential aides who are here with us this morning, heads of security agencies, heads of agencies and parastatals. We also have with us our development partners, the World Bank. Put your hands together for them. Also, very notable are the ones who are carrying this news outside. Put your hands together for the press. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Oche Echeja Egwa. I'm an Assistant Director Information, Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity. I thought you put your hands together for me. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the Nigerian public service is as old as Nigeria itself. Matter of factly, it is older than Nigeria. And before you came in, the Minister of Interior had a vibrant presentation that shook the hall because he moved us to the next level of innovation. He said, and I quote, "Our career will come to an end one day, but Nigeria will always remain. And as long as Nigeria remains, the public service will always remain." Put your hands together for the minister. Your Excellency, Mr. President, today we are honored to have you in our midst as the most hard-working public servant of the country. We are mindful of the fact that you are the most hardworking public servant, and this is why. In the last 1 month, Your Excellency, you have worked almost most parts of this country. First, you were in Katsina to commission projects just in 1 month. You left Katsina, you went to Lagos to work for 2 weeks. You left Lagos, you came back, and you were busy commissioning projects in FCT. During that period, you left for Benue State to commiserate with the governor and the people. You came back and you went to Kaduna to commission projects. Yesterday, you were in Nasarawa for 4 hours commissioning projects. And this morning, before you came in, you signed the tax bills into law. Can we put our hands together for Mr. President? Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, for the opening remark, I would like to invite someone who knows the head of service very well to introduce her. She works with the Global Government Forum, and her name is Shivon Benita. Shivon, please come to the mic.
Thank you so much, His Excellency, Mr. President, dear friends and colleagues. It's been a wonderful conference already, and it's just got even more exciting. And at this stage of the conference, I'm delighted to have the task of welcoming back up to stage in a moment a truly inspirational woman. I have had the pleasure of getting to know the head of the civil service of the Federation in the UK and in Singapore through my work with Global Government Forum. And I was struck immediately by her laser focus on reform of the civil service and her desire to improve services to the citizens of Nigeria. Mrs. Didi Esther Walton-Jack, her esteemed career has seen her traverse the public service of 2 states, 2 arms of government and 2 tiers of government. And since becoming the head of service last year, she has made a huge impact, embracing the need for change and inspiring leaders, as we see here, to join her on this journey. Without Didi, this maiden conference simply wouldn't have taken place. She has achieved this remarkable feat of bringing all of us together, thousands of leaders, heads of civil service, heads of states from across Nigeria, all focused on transformation and ultimately on making people's lives better. please join me in giving a warm welcome to the head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Mrs. Didi Esther Wilson-Jack.
Your Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Your Excellencies here present, permit me, Your Excellency, to also specially recognize the honorable ministers, the political leaders in the various ministries who are also here today. Distinguished partners from around the world, my very hard-working and diligent civil servants, the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to what is truly a defining moment for public service in Nigeria and across the globe. Your presence here today is appreciated and crucial to the success of this conference. I am excited to welcome you to the maiden International Civil Service Conference in our dynamic and hospitable capital city of Abuja. This gathering is history in the making. We are setting a new tone, pace, and standard for public service in Nigeria, Africa, and the world. I sincerely appreciate His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his bold leadership and steadfast commitment to a reformed, digitally enabled, citizen-centered public service. Mr. President, sir, your belief in this vision and your presence with us today sends a powerful message which you have constantly reminded me, and that is that the civil service is not a back room of government, but the backbone of national transformation. On behalf of the organizers and the host nation, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all our distinguished guests, particularly our revered former heads of Nigeria's civil service, who would be honored later today, for laying the foundation for the reforms we are now building on. Their dedication to meritocracy, efficiency, and integrity remains a guiding light. Your legacies of excellence, innovation, and leadership continue to inspire the next generation of civil servants. We are grateful for the continued contributions to nation building of the former heads of service, retired permanent secretaries, and directors, and look forward to your invaluable perspectives during this conference. We are deeply honored by the presence and participation of delegates from Azerbaijan, Canada, Ghana, Kenya, Morocco, and as well as the United States of America. Your participation adds value and makes this conference international. Together, we are advancing the civil service in Nigeria and beyond, and your insights will undoubtedly enrich our discussions on governance, public service reforms, and service excellence. This conference, themed Rejuvenate, Innovate, and Accelerate, reflects the kind of service we must become. Rejuvenated in energy and purpose, innovative in thinking and execution, and accelerated in action and results. In preparation for this moment, my team and I embarked on learning missions to Singapore, the United Kingdom, and the United Arab Emirates to study how other nations have transformed their public institutions. The lesson is clear. If Nigeria is to lead Africa, then our civil service must lead the way. This is the purpose of our gathering today. I am proud to say that this conference is already a model of innovation. It is fully self-funded through collaborations, strategic partnerships, resourcefulness, and overwhelming support of corporate bodies and individuals. I think we need to give them a round of applause. At a time when public resources are stretched, this achievement is a testament to what we can do when we combine vision with discipline and ambition with collaboration. These partnerships and public support reflect growing global confidence in our reform agenda.